So this video is from a subscriber's email. They're asking about Brahman, about the ultimate level of reality, the transactional level of reality. And the title of this video, as you would have seen, I want to talk about the implications of all this. Yeah, it's all Brahman, it's all consciousness, so what? Who cares? I don't feel any different. Let's talk about the implications of that in a moment. But before we get into that, let's go to the email. You'll see it there. Hi, good morning, Simon. In Advaita, ultimately only the ultimate reality exists, and there's no inherent paradox to the nature of Brahman. Does relative reality even exist? If there's no paradox, then that means only the ultimate reality exists and relative reality is just undermined. I don't understand. Such a common question and a confusion in Advaita Vedanta. The ultimate level of reality and the transactional level of reality. What's a transactional level if you're new? This. We're told it's the one appearing separate, but we feel like we're people living lives. So they're obviously asking, does this mean this reality doesn't exist? Is it undermined? Let's clear up all this confusion. First of all, Advaita Vedanta in one sentence, Brahman is real, the world is an appearance, and I just like to add in quotes, an appearance of what? Of Brahman in Brahman. So only Brahman is, appearing as all this. But let's get down to some definitions to be very clear. What is Brahman anyway? How do they describe it? They describe Brahman as Sat Chit Ananda, which translates into existence, consciousness, bliss. Brahman is conscious existence. And why is it bliss? Because Brahman is one without a second. There is only Brahman experiencing Brahman, so it's peace, it's bliss itself. But let's remove this bliss word for a moment. Brahman is conscious existence. And consciousness and existence are two sides of the same coin. How? Ever notice to be conscious is to be conscious of something that's existing? Imagine an existing world devoid of consciousness. There's an existing world with no consciousness. What would that experience be? It would be the experience of nothing. We couldn't be sitting here talking about it. A reality that exists with no consciousness. Nothing to say. And let's flip this. What about consciousness with nothing to experience, to know? Again, it would be the experience of a blank. To make this clear, in deep sleep, your conscious mind experiences nothing. All the five senses have shut down and the thinking mind is shut down. You're conscious of a blank. It's a blank. So what I'm getting at is conscious needs to be conscious of something. It needs to see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or think about something. With no objects of experience, consciousness, what can we speak of? It's conscious of nothing, conscious of a blank. Again, on the flip side, if there were things to see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and think about, if there was a reality that we could do that in, but there's no consciousness, again, it's a blank. What I'm getting at is you can't have consciousness without existence. You can't have an existing world that we can talk about and experience without consciousness. Two sides of the same coin. So Brahman is conscious existence. Now you might be saying, that sounds very dualistic. There's consciousness and an existing world that consciousness is aware of. The claim of Advaita Vedanta is no. The nature of reality is non-dual consciousness. In other words, reality is a paradox. It's the nature of consciousness to know. It needs to know something. But when there's nothing other to know than consciousness itself, what does it do? It appears as its own subject and objects. Now, if this sounds confusing, think of it like your dreaming mind. Your one undivided mind falls asleep and experiences a blank in deep sleep. One and undivided mind experiences nothingness, conscious of nothingness. Then at a certain point, without any of your will, volition, a dream appears. How? It just does. You're not controlling it. It just appears on its own. You experience a blank. Then you experience a world. and you enter that world as a dream character. The one conscious mind splits itself up into a subject in an objective reality. And that's what Advaita is saying on this bigger scale. Brahman is all there is. So I thought I'd just clear up that definition of Brahman. If you're still confused about this, of course, leave it in the comment section. I'll expand further. But that's a definition of Brahman. Conscious intelligence. Conscious existence. You can't get rid of existence. It can only alter and change into different existing things. As Albert Einstein said, energy is neither created or destroyed, it's just transformed. Replace the word energy with Brahman. Brahman is neither created or destroyed, it's just transformed. So that's a definition of Brahman. So now let's move on to your question about existence and non-existence. They say that which truly exists has an independent existence. It depends on nothing else for its existence. That which doesn't exist has a dependent existence. And what exists? What is the only true thing that has an independent existence? Brahman. Brahman is the causeless cause that has caused this universe. What is this reality? They call it mithya, apparently real, a dependent existence. What does it depend on? Brahman. Think of it like this. A seed of a tree exists. A seed of a tree. Put that seed in the ground. Eventually that seed loses its qualities of a seed, and now it exists as a tree. When you cut down that tree, it no longer exists as a tree. Now it exists as a log, a wooden log. Then you chop up that wooden log and make it into a table. It no longer exists as a log, it exists as a table. Now with time, that table becomes old. The legs fall off. Now it exists as a broken table. Then perhaps you might say, let's smash this up and use it as firewood. Now it exists as firewood. When you light the fire, now it exists as ash and smoke. You can go on and on and on with this example, but what it's showing you is Brahman is pure existence. The fact that things exist is due to Brahman. But existing things have a dependent existence. Like I said, that smoke and ash depended on the firewood. That firewood depended on the broken table. That broken table depended on the table that was not broken. And that table, fully functioning table, was dependent on the log of wood. That log of wood was dependent on the tree. That tree was dependent on the seed. That seed was dependent on where that seed came from. See, existence, you can't get rid of it. You can't crush it, kill it, pound it out of existence. Existence always exists. Brahman is existence. So when you're saying, I'm confused, if Brahman is the ultimate reality and Brahman is existence, does that undermine this reality here? Transactional reality? No, it doesn't. Because again, Brahman is real. Brahman is the fabric. This reality is apparently real. It's made of Brahman. Picture it again. Picture it like this. Brahman is water. That's the only reality in this example, just water. Do you see any whirlpools or waves when the water's still? No, they don't exist. Now, when the waves and whirlpools start forming, they exist. You don't need to try to play a mind trick on yourself. When waves and whirlpools and ripples and bubbles start forming, they exist in that moment. But they have a dependent existence on what? On the water. They didn't exist, they exist for some time, and then they go back into non-existence. So this teaching of apparent existence, they call it mithya. It's paradoxical in nature in the sense of nothing we experience has a dependent existence of its own. It depends on everything else. Yet when we experience it, it is real. Here's another question. Are your dreams real or not? Your instinctive answer is probably going to be, of course dreams aren't real. But here's the thing. The dreams aren't real now. The dream you had last night, unreal. Where is it? I can't see it. I just woke up actually. I had a really weird dream, which I won't get into. But where's that dream now for me? I can't see it. But here's the thing. It was real when I was experiencing it. And it is real when you're experiencing your dreams. So before you go to bed at night, your dreams are unreal. When you start dreaming, they're real. You're experiencing something. You're experiencing happiness, terror, boredom, who knows. In the moment of experiencing it, when you wake up, it's unreal again. So again, this teaching of apparently real of Mithya, it is very hard for the mind to grasp. But here's the takeaway message. If you're new to my videos, I'm sorry, I'm going to be very repetitive at the end of my videos. I'm going to always end on practical implications, which a lot of people probably don't like, which is what should we do with all this information? The title of this video, yeah, it's all Brahman, it's all consciousness, so what? What are the implications if reality is conscious intelligence at the fundamental level? What does that mean for our sense of self? What does that mean for what happens after death? What does that mean for how we interact with others? Under the materialist paradigm, in the beginning there was dead, unconscious, inert matter that somehow clumped together in some combination, gave rise to consciousness. All these 8 billion conscious entities, and also the animals, of course. When we die, we go into a state of unconsciousness like life never happened. That's the feel you get from the materialist paradigm. Yeah, we're all one, as in we're all made of stardust. We're all from the one universe, but fundamentally we're separate. I'm here, you're there. All this stuff about mind reading and supernatural stuff, nonsense. How can it be? I have a little light of consciousness in my head, so do you. So how can we do all this telepathy and mind reading and out-of-body stuff? Doesn't make sense. Because when the physical body dies, consciousness should end with the physical body, shouldn't it? Under the materialist paradigm. And why be good to others? Who cares? It's all about making this body and mind feel good. When I'm dead, who cares? That's the kind of vibe you get. Whether you think about it or not, you don't feel anything special about life. Just please your senses and you're dead, who cares? But when we flip this and say, no, the fabric of reality is consciousness. That we're all interconnected through consciousness. I say interconnected because there's just the appearance of separate people and things. But in any case, I won't overthink this myself and allow you to overthink it. Basically, if the fabric of reality is consciousness, what that means is there's a deep underlying consciousness running through all reality. So what does that do for after death? If consciousness is not dependent on the physical body, that's the foundation of all spirituality and religion. If at the moment of death, the materialist is right, there is no afterlife, you're right, who cares? Just do what you want. But if at the moment of death, the soul or consciousness survives the death of the body, if consciousness is fundamental, that means an afterlife is possible. That means things like communicating telepathically, praying to a God. What are we praying to then? The deep intelligence running through this reality. I won't get into too much detail, but what I'm saying is if the fundamental nature of reality is consciousness, that's going to bring a huge paradigm shift in the thinking of humanity. How we relate to others, how we view things like telepathy, prayer, life after death. If consciousness is independent of the physical body, soul, afterlife, all this kind of stuff, it's going to make so much more sense. And Advaita Vedanta is always saying, yes, that is the case. Advaita Vedanta will say, look, you perhaps don't believe us now, but at the moment of death, you're going to die and you're going to realize, oh, I'm still not dead. My soul, of course, not my body. The body dies, but the soul continues on. That's Advaita Vedanta's bold claim. And the claim of all religions. But at the end of the day, all this talk is fascinating, isn't it? But what is the practical implications? What should we do with this information? If you are convinced that Advaita Vedanta is correct, that the fundamental nature of reality is consciousness, there is the one fabric appearing separate, what should we do with this information? See others as another version of you. This is another version of you appearing in time and space. Serve this other version of you. Love it. Be patient, non-reactive. The golden rule of Christianity, treat others how you want to be treated. Even if all this was made up, you know what this is going to do? I've found this in my life. I've considered this. Even if all this was nonsense, I feel so much more peace and happiness looking at others, even if it's made up, as another version of me. Being patient, non-reactive, loving, it opens up your heart. It makes you remove all these desires for this reality slowly, and you're flooded with peace and happiness. So if all this was a mind game, all this was a psychological trick, I don't care. I feel peace, love, happiness, confidence, freedom here and now. If all this afterlife stuff was nonsense, fair enough. I've lived a peaceful, happy, fulfilling life here and now. But if it's true, cool. Perhaps I get to go to a heaven or some other great realm. That'll be a bonus for me. But right now, happiness here and now. So all the people that talk about spirituality is nonsense, religious is nonsense, what's all this prayer, devotion, service to others? It's silly, or whatever you're thinking. Have you tried it? Don't knock it till you try it. Try it and you might fall in love with it. So I hope this video answered your question and covered a lot more questions that a lot of people think about. I know I have personally over the years. Take care.